Good Thursday evening and welcome to Gigi's Burger Bar here on 9th Street in Coffeyville. Big thanks to Gigi's for having us. Big thanks to the David W. Barnes Funeral Home for sponsoring the show. It's our Red Raven Coaches Show with Tony Turner, and we are Jay Herkelman-less. I just invented a word, I think, but we're without him tonight, but we will be joined by assistant coach Jake Odom coming up at 6:30 as well. But Coach Turner leads us off after the midweek game against Dodge City. Coach, how you doing? Good to have you here tonight.
Oh, I'm doing great. Just we traveled today, and now I'm just trying to prepare for the next game.
First, before we kind of start diving into the game, what was that? That trip's none of those trips to the western half of the state are ever easy. But what was that? I know some of the players on both teams are kind of battling some sickness this week, and so did everybody make it back okay? And are we're moving forward from the trip?
Well, we still have a couple girls still struggling a little bit with this bug that's going around, but we're all back, and we took the day off so he can get an extra day of rest, and so we'll get back into the grind tomorrow.
Well, Coach, we'll get it started with, of course, I think the score is just absolutely does this team a disservice with final score being 106-75. But, Coach, when I was putting the recap together this morning, I was, like you said, digging around for what went wrong for this team. Did they commit a lot of turnovers? Did they struggle at the free throw line? Were they not hitting from outside the arc? And I was like, 44% from three, 40% from the field, pretty normal. I think 65% from the line, but nothing too crazy. And then you look at, Dodge City made 23 three-point shots, and it's going to be hard to beat any team that does that.
Oh, I mean, they had one just bounce around the rim and drop in. I just looked at my assistants and said it's going to be a long night. And, our girls played good. We went back and looked at the film and went back and just looked at the stats of the sheets, and it wasn't like we just played bad. It was just they were the better team, and they had it rolling on all cylinders.
And, Coach, you look at, like you said, some of the underlying numbers minus the shooting percentages for Dodge, and you see your team right there in the rebound battle, 32-31. Not a lot of rebounds to be given out last night, I guess. But you also, dish out 15 team assists, only 11 team turnovers. So it's like you said, I mean, I'm sure you and your coaching staff look at this game and you say, yeah, it's tough to lose in this conference, and unfortunate that you didn't have a better showing, but it's one of those games where you almost, can feel okay with how your team played and move on quicker and just be like, if we play like that, the outcome against Hutch we think will be better.
Oh, no question. And I, even during that game, as many shots as they were making, and, our girls, I just kept saying, don't give up. Just don't give up regardless of the outcome of the score of this game. We're not going to quit. We're going to keep battling. And I thought they did a great job. Our bench stayed energized regardless of they come down, hit a three with a hand in their face or whatever. We stayed engaged. And, I even thought our shoot around was great. All that. I mean, it's just one of those days.
Coach, another solid performance for Ivy Fox in 24 minutes, had 16 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal. I think, Ivy's given you good minutes for a majority of the year, but I think like you said, I know you said after the Barton game you tweaked with her jump shot a little bit to try and make a quick little change that gave her a little bit more comfort, gave her a little more confidence, and I think in these last couple games it's really shown. Another 12 attempted shots, 5 attempted threes. It really feels like Ivy's taken that step of not just being a threat on offense, but now she's one of the top scorers on this team because when she catches the ball, she's willing to put up a quick shot.
Yeah, Ivy's a very hard worker, and she'll probably be in that gym tonight just working on her craft, and she's in the weight room, and she's like a sponge. And I tell my coach I wish we would have had her last year, and just if we'd had her last year, I don't know if we would have been able to maintain her this year, but to keep her around. But no, she's a very talented kid and starting to just understand the system. I think early in the year, she was trying to figure out our system and just how we play defense, all the different calls we have. And now we've kind of, for lack of better words, dummied it down a little bit and just kind of made it where and also she's learning it now. So she's just able to be relax and play the game now.
Coach, you look at another player on your team that really had a solid shooting night, Bailey Lehman, 36 minutes, a team high by quite a wide margin. She ended up shooting 70% from the field, hit 3 3-point shots, also ended with 7 rebounds as well. We've talked about Bailey a good deal this season, but, the overall theme I feel like when you watch a player like Bailey Lehman is just consistently solid, Coach. You know what you're getting with a player like Bailey Lehman. She goes out, she's going to give you 10, 12, 14 points. She's going to hit a couple 3-point shots. She's going to get the rebounds. She's going to play solid defense. She's just, I'm sure, a very comforting player for you, and the fact that she's Bailey Lehman. You know what you're getting every single night.
No, every night, every day in practice, every night in the game. I mean, you know what to expect, and regardless of how tired she is, how much I'm on her, or whatever. I mean, I try to coach them up, and she knows how I am, and she works hard every day, and she doesn't ever let her offense dictate her defense, and she just continues to work. She's also in that gym working on her craft, and she's all the coaches that call me, I'm saying she's a good one, coach. You better get her, and they're all. Her recruitment is getting better and better every day, and because she just works hard every day.
Coach, something that I'm glad you mentioned was, you told your team throughout the course of that Dodge game to keep fighting no matter what was happening on the other side, no matter what shots were going in and all that kind of. So I'm curious, in a game like that, inevitably you're working with 18, 19-year-old college basketball players, and in a game like that, maybe on the bus ride home from that, what are you and your assistant coaches saying to keep this team from? This team, I think, has done a nice job throughout the season of having a short memory, but how do you make sure that a loss like that, where really a lot of the elements of that loss were out of the team's control, how do you make sure that they move on pretty quickly from that? Because, of course, this Hutch team coming in on Saturday is a very good basketball team as well.
We'll talk about all the positive things that went on in the game, and like I said earlier, we never quit. We kept battling, and even in the timeouts, I kept saying, we just got to get better. We got to get better. Just keep getting better and keep working hard, and we'll address the positive things when we get in the film session tomorrow, and just move on and just chalk it up. I've been coaching for a long time, been playing basketball for a long time, and I watch a lot of sports on TV, and some days just those days, and I thought last night was just one of those days, and we'll bounce back from it. We'll come in, take it as a learning experience, and I mean, even me as a coach, I had to take it. I sit there and like, what do you do? What do you do? And on that 5.5-hour bus ride, I like, this is maybe what we should have done is took the air out of the ball, maybe slowed them down, messed up their rhythm a little bit, but it's after the fact. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from Dodge. They played great last night.
And I think, it almost speaks to, like we've talked about before, the standard and the expectations of this program, where we've talked in the past about how you play every team in this league twice. And I'm sure there's a lot of coaches and a lot of teams out there that just go, hey, if we take care of business at home, that's 12 conference wins right there, and we're going to be in pretty good shape if we take care of business in our gym. And we're sitting here with your team's dropped a game on the road to Barton, and your team's dropped a game on the road to Dodge, and we're sitting here wanting those games back. And I think that's the difference between a team that's maybe lingering around the 500 mark and a team that's sitting here at 11-4 is you only see. I think the mentality's a little different, where you see a team twice, you get them at home and you get them on the road, but you also, at the same time, only see a team twice, and you know that you got to take care of business when you match up against some of these top teams in the conference.
Oh, no question. And it's one of those things. At a team like that, it's going to be hard to beat them 3 times. So maybe this is a blessing in disguise, and we don't know it. Me and Coach Steele talked after the game, and he knows they got to come this way, and he knows that they're not going to probably make 23 threes in the game, and he knows that, knock on wood, that we do shoot the ball pretty decent at home, and, we're subject to shoot 23 threes and make 23 threes too. So, it's a battle. It's part of the game. We'll come back. Our team is, like you said, they'll have a short-term memory, and we'll bounce back, and we'll come in like nothing ever happened and be ready for Hutch.
And you're absolutely right. And I think, it's interesting that you say that. It just happens to be that Dodge City is this example. But You dropped a pair of games against Dodge in the regular season last year. You go out in the postseason, you get the job done. So, like you said, the talent in this league and the coaches in this league, it's a lot like it's a lot like the NFL when you see a division opponent for the third time in the playoffs. It's really hard to get them 3 times.
It's hard to get them 3 times. I mean, it does it happen? Yes, it does happen, and but it's. We'll be okay. He knows it. We know it. Our team knows it. And, that bus ride home was a good wake-up call for us. And I keep saying we just got a whooping. I mean, at the end of the day, we just got a good old whooping by a team that was way better than us. And, they even one of their better shooters was not even there. Was homesick. So that just was just one of those days.
Coach, I'm curious your thoughts because this team has been a very, very strong defensive team for a majority of the season, top 5 in the conference, and a lot of defensive stats. And like you said, it was just one of those nights where everything Dodge City was throwing up was going in. Your team ends up putting up 75 points on 40% shooting. And for a lot of games this year, 75 points on 40% shooting has been enough for your team to get a 10, 15-point win. And so I'm curious what you saw initially from that game, if there's anything that you are looking to change or maybe make tweaks to with your defensive alignment before Hutchinson on Saturday.
Oh, of course, Hutch is not as big as Dodge, and Hutch, knock on wood, does not shoot it as well as Dodge. I talked to Coach Steele about it, and they have played Hutch, and the difference of the two is Hutch is more. We're about their size, we're about their quickness. It should be, we match up with them well. In fact, I think we're probably a little bigger than them, and we'll just go out and just play the game and go out and play hard and just I don't know if they shoot like Dodge did, we'll definitely take the air out of the ball. We'll get that thing turned about 3 or 4 times before we even look to shoot, just to try to mess up the rhythm of the game.
I think that's something that we talked about early in the season as well when we looked at a lot of these teams in the conference that we thought were going to be here. Your Butlers, your Bartons, your Dodge Cities. From day one, you were saying that I think we match up really well with Hutchinson, and I think that there's a lot of truth to that. And I think, like you said, very similar size, very similar. I remember from the games last year, maybe the personnel for Hutchinson leads to a little bit different style this year, but pretty similar playing styles, like you said, pretty similar speed up and down the court. So it's 2 teams that really like to play a very similar style of basketball, and I think you're absolutely right in the sense that it really could be a very interesting matchup. And I think, that bodes well for your group that you match up so well with a team like that, because Hutchinson's gone out and they've beaten Butler, and they've beat, they're number 6 in the nation right now.
They beat Dodge. Dodge. I mean,
Hutchinson's proven that they're absolutely legit. And I think, if your team goes out there on Saturday and shows you can hang with them and, hey, even beats them at Nellis Hall, I think that shows that the rest of the conference and maybe some people around the country that your team's for real and that your team can hang with anyone.
Oh, yeah. One thing that, I mentioned to our girls, Dodge is one little revenge factor. We ended their season last year. They did get a at-large bid to go to the national tournament. Hutch, we ended their season last year, and they're going to probably come in here with a little revenge on their mind, because they have several girls that was on that last year's team, and we'll just have to go out and play, man. At the end of the day, go out and battle.
Final thing, Coach, before we take our first break of the show, and it was something that I was relieved to hear when I asked you here a few minutes ago. But looking at the box score late last night, I did not unfortunately get to watch all 40 minutes of the game. But the first thing I saw was 11 minutes from Kylie Ortiz, and of course, me being maybe I'm a glass half empty kind of person. But the first thing that I thought of was, oh no, please don't be hurt. But good news from you. You said obviously she's battling a little bit of an illness, but no injuries, and moving forward, Kylie should be good to go.
No, she should. And even at halftime, she was warming up, and I could just tell she was laboring. And I called her to the sideline and said, hey, I'm going to shut you down, get your jersey on. And wasn't nothing you done. I appreciate you at least going out and trying to battle and, taking one for the team. And she kind of agreed with me. And I was like, I'll just go there and be a good teammate. And she was. And I said, we need you for Hutch. So Good, you go ahead and take the rest of the day off.
Yeah, and and she played some of her best games against Touch last year. So you're absolutely right in that this team needs her to be ready for that game on Saturday. But I think that's another theme of your group, Coach. Is just they do put that they do play for each other in the sense that we've seen some players on this team clearly maybe have a hard fall on a foul or collide with the stanchion underneath the basket or something, and they're kind of limping coming back. They're not feeling good, but they're staying out there, and they're giving you the hand motion of I'm good, leave me out here. And I think that says a lot about your group and how much they want this, because there's definitely been moments this year where you've had some players banged up and they said, no, I'm good.
Yeah, and I always ask them, is it a headache or a migraine? And, if it's a headache, get on back out there and let's go. If it's a migraine, let's shut her down and get you the assistance you need. And, it's just this team does care, Shay. They all care about each other. They care about winning, and they know it's a marathon. It ain't a sprint, and we'll be okay. Because they battle. They do battle.
Lady Ravens turn their attention to Hutchinson coming up on Saturday. Let's take our first break of the Red Raven Coaches Show. We'll be back in 2 minutes here on the Mighty 690 KGGF. Red Raven Coaches Show here from Gigi's Burger Bar on West 9th in Coffeyville. I'm Shay Neal. Appreciate you hanging out with us here as we catch up on all things Red Raven basketball. And we're hanging out with Coach Tony Turner, and we just put a bow on that game against Dodge City, and we're talking now about the Hutchinson Blue Dragons coming to town on Saturday. And feels like there's a good number of teams in this conference, Coach, that you could call a rivalry. Your Butlers, your Independents, of course, being the Battle of Montgomery County. But it does feel like out of the 12 other teams in this league that there's just a little extra juice when Coffeyville and Hutchinson go head-to-head.
Oh, no question. It's going to be it's almost getting as big as the Independence game. It's just we eat two talented teams and two coaches that's hooked up, very competitive coaches on the men and women's side, and
Absolutely, and I think something about, and it obviously the big thing that fuels a rivalry is when it's a competitive game and two good teams. And I think obviously you look in recent years, and Hutchinson and Coffeyville, it's no secret. These two programs are usually towards the top of the conference, usually fighting for positioning in the tournament or fighting for the conference championship. And I think that's obviously what the gasoline on the fire of a rivalry is. Obviously, you have talented teams that don't like each other already, and then all of a sudden, when they have the same goal and the same destination, and they're both in the way of each other, that's where it gets to be a whole lot of fun.
Right, right, and the pressure's on them. Actually, I mean they're trying to protect that zero on that loss column. So we really don't have anything to lose. I mean, we just got to go out and play, go out and battle.
Well, and you've had a lot of battles with the Hutchinson Blue Dragons over the years. So what's your relationship been like with Coach Anches and of course battling him over the years?
Oh, me and Coach Anches, or Coach Anches and myself, we've had many battles. From the independence era to now, and he's beat me, I beat him, and we're just and I say he's beat me, I beat him. Our teams have beaten each other, and he does a great job. He's very. I mean, they run their stuff to perfection. His team is very disciplined. They play hard, and I mean, he's a great coach. I mean, he does a good job.
He certainly does, and I think you look at this Hutch team, and I think the true testament of a really good basketball team. Maybe we talk about how many stars there are in this conference, and I think you look at a team like Coffeyville and you look at a team like Hutchinson, and they're almost constructed very similar. And you look at the teams and you go, yeah. There's 2-3 pretty good players on this team that maybe get onto an all-conference team or maybe are a player of the week or something like that. But you really look at it, and what Coffeyville and Hutch really have in common is there's some teams in this league, Coach, that have 2-3 good players, but they really rely on those 2-3 good players. Hutch and Coffeyville, they're willing to go 8, 9, 10 players deep, and all 10 of those players obviously can beat you on any given night. So I think obviously this will be a battle of some depth as well.
Yes, I mean, Coach Anches and myself, we do coach our whole team up, and if where you at on that totem pole, we're still going to coach you up and hold you accountable, and of just running the system, know what's going on out there, playing hard, and I've watched them. I mean, Coach Anches and I talk a lot, and we've always talked about going golfing, but we haven't quite yet done that yet. But no, he's a good dude, and he coaches his team up really well.
And they have a key returner on this team in Monet Duffy, who really was an impact player as a freshman. She's got good size to her, but something we talked a little bit about before the show was there's good size, and then there's good size that can move around. And Monet Duffy's got good size, but she can move around. She can attack you from the elbow. She can attack you in the paint. She can even get out to the three-point line and make you pay. So she's got good size at about 6'2", 6'3", but she's also got some quickness to her, and she's going to be a tough matchup, and she's been really the leader of this Hutch team all year.
Oh, yes. We definitely got to keep her off the boards. I mean, that's where she gets a lot of her easy buckets. I mean, she crashes the boards hard, and she does a good job. And she can step out and shoot, and she can take you off the bounce. But no, we're gonna definitely. I know last year when we beat them, she got in foul trouble, and I think we'll go at her to try to get her in foul trouble, and we're gonna definitely try to make it an inside-out game.
And I think another thing, and my 2 seasons here in the Jayhawks, something that I've learned really separates some of these teams from some others in the conference is having experience at the guard spot and having experience at point guard. And these two teams, of course, have experienced point guards with Journey Armstead for the Blue Dragons, and, of course, your team having Ray Richardson and Tatana Woods Blackout, pair of sophomore point guards that have had a lot of reps here in their time in Coffeyville. So going into that, obviously, two teams that run a complex kind of system, a complex offense, and having that sophomore running the offense definitely makes it easier.
Oh yes, we're gonna definitely rely on Ray and T to run the show for us. And last year at their place, T got hurt, got the concussion, and kind of set us back a little bit. But no, she and thank God Ray will step up. Ray's been playing great, and so I really like my point guards. They're doing a great job this year, and I just that experience makes a big difference.
It certainly does, and I think we look at this game last year at Nellis Hall, and your team, like you said, didn't have Tatana in the game out in Hutchinson, and that kind of that mixed with a run here and there, you ended up dropping that game by 18 points. But they come back to Nellis Hall, and your team really plays well for a good portion of that game. You had, I believe, a 7-point lead in the fourth quarter. And then Hutch turns it on in the fourth quarter and sneaks out of there with a 5-point win, and a night where it really felt like your team was in control for a good portion of that game. So there's some players on this team that remember that game, I'm sure, and there's some players on this team that also remember, the next time you squared off with them in the postseason. So like you said, I think both of these teams know what's at stake here, and both of these teams know the history between these two teams from last season. But how do you make sure your group really gets off to a good start and plays 4 full quarters of solid Red Raven basketball?
Well, like you mentioned a few minutes ago, we definitely have some mature guards. We have some mature sophomores, and they're very understanding of the game. They know when to go, when to whoa. So that'll be a and even they have their point guard. Journey does a good job for them, and it's going to be the battle of who's going to be the most disciplined, who's going to do all the little things. That's going to be the team that wins the game, team that does the little things.
Absolutely, and that's something you said before. That's something you said either before or after the Barton game. I'm mixing up all the times that we have conversations, but you said, your team's focusing on the details because, we're at the point of the year where all the good teams in this conference can do the basics right. And we're at the point where whoever executes on this one certain play with 2 minutes to go in a tie game or hits this, this one good look for three and at this point in the game or gets this one key stop. That's what really separates some of these top teams in the conference because between 1 through 6 in the Jayhawk, there's really not a lot of separation, and it really does come down to those 1 or 2 possessions and who executes better when the lights are the brightest.
Right, and our focus has been. I even told our girls, hey, if we can win this conference, we can win it. But if we can't, we're gonna work to win this region, and we're gonna just continue to keep trying to do the little things, the block outs, the getting to the help, the talking, things that down the road will help you win and help you survive and advance. And so, no, do we want to win games? Yes, excuse me. Yes, we want to win all the games, but we're going to keep battling and keep working on doing all those little things right.
Coach, final thing, and always, of course, appreciate your time. We look here at the standings. Your team currently in sole possession of 5th place in this conference, and you've played the 3 teams above you, Dodge City, Butler, Barton, and after Saturday you will have played the top 4 with Hutch coming to town as well. So sitting here in your 20 years as a college basketball coach in this conference, your team's about halfway through the season, I think exactly halfway through the season, 15 games in. What do you see from your group that is already at the level of competing for a championship, and what do you see here with 15 games to go in the season that you think we need this to go up a level or two if we're going to beat a Hutch or beat a Butler or beat a Barton in March?
First of all, we got to get ourselves in shape. And I know it's in the 15th, halfway through the season, you're like, you're still not in shape. No, we're not in shape. And then once we can get in shape, I think that this team is going to be tough to beat down the stretch. And I'm battling with that and just getting the mental toughness side of it. And they're getting there. They're working on it every day. And they're understanding it more and more and more. More and more those people are jumping on that wagon of that mental toughness side and the mindset side and doing all the little extra work, getting in the gym and working on their craft. And it just helps you down the stretch. It helps you where it just comes natural. We're trying to get all 14 of them ready to go, and that we're climbing that ladder and getting there. So that's what's going to that's what's going to take us down the stretch.
And I think we've talked in length about this, but this stretch of the season here, where you played 4th place Barton, you played, of course, you played Butler before the break, but you had 2nd place Dodge City, a 1st place Hutch coming to town. The game that you won, a very solid 7th place Garden City that has a lot of talent as well. And I don't think you'd say Garden City's in 7th place. I think a lot of people would go really, but I think this is almost in a way a culture shock for some of your players, where you get off to the red hot start, you're off to the 6-2 conference record, and you're feeling good about yourself, and then, well, hey, here's the teams that we're going to see in March. And I think it's almost, that kind of punch to the gut, knocks the wind out of you. Obviously, it's not fun, but now I think, like we've always talked about, your team has maturity, your team has experience, your team, of course, has talent, and they can look back on this and go, when we play Dodge again, I don't want to lose by 30. So what are you going to do about it?
Yeah, Coach, one of my coaches was like, I can't believe he has her in the game still. I can't believe he has her in the game. I said, so what? I hope they keep going. I mean, it's just going to add more fuel to our fire when it's time to get ready to play them again. And I'll have that film session out there and just talk about things and get our momentum going and our motivation going. And you want to lose like that again? Let's go. So no, I was like, keep scoring. You're fine, man. You keep doing what you do. We'll be okay. Watch.
Ravens back at Nellis Hall on Saturday. They take on the first place Hutchinson Blue Dragons in what should be a fantastic matchup and a rematch of the Region 6 quarterfinals from a year ago. Coach Turner, always appreciate the time, and we can't wait for Saturday.
Oh, thank you, and I appreciate your time, and you have a good night.
Appreciate it. We'll step away for 3 minutes. When we come back, we're going to turn shift to the men's team, and Jake Odom steps into the co-pilot seat. We'll have Red Raven Coaches Show continuing in 3 minutes here on the Mighty 690 KGGF. Raven Coaches Show here from Gigi's Burger Bar in downtown Coffeyville. I'm Shay Neal. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Appreciate the David W. Barnes Funeral Home for sponsoring the show, and appreciate Gigi's for having us. Of course, the K-State Coaches Show with Jerome Tang coming up at the top of the hour at 7 o'clock, so keep it here. But now we're shifting focus to the men's team, and Coach Jake Odom, who steps in for Coach Herkelman tonight while he goes to support one of his former guys down in Tulsa. So, Coach Odom, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And it's like you said a couple minutes ago, always fun to talk after a win. Your team goes out to Dodge. Really responds well from that Garden game, I think. And, the defense was a little bit more tight-knit. The offense did what they needed to do. And anytime you can go on the road and win a game by almost 20 points, you'll take it.
Yeah, as everybody knows in this conference, going on the road, it's going to be tough. But yeah, that's the first game that we've had in a while to where we controlled the game for most of the first and second half, and we played good, and we needed it. We needed a little bit of desperation, sense of urgency. It was an important game for us, and we're proud of how the guys, traveled out there day of the game and really showed up and came ready to play.
Well, I think a key key thing to take away from that game is, your team had 3 players battling some ankle injuries. You had 3 or 4 players that were sick, and C.J. Smith didn't end up playing, and you just barely got Chris Carroll back in time. So your team by no means was at full strength, and you're still able to have the mental toughness to go on a bus ride for 5 hours and go play a solid basketball team and really take control of that game.
Yeah, it was a toughness test for us. The few days leading up to the game, we didn't even have 10 guys for practice. So we were having to mix and match and figure out ways to get practice set up how it's going to be like in the game. And credit to the guys for battling. Chris Carroll stepping up. He hadn't touched the basketball for 3 days coming into it, and goes out and gets about 20 points and just battling through. And we'll be looking forward to getting those other guys back from being sick this weekend.
Absolutely, and another thing that really sticks out about your team is the shooting splits. We've talked a couple times this year about a slow start to the conference season and offensive efficiency, and you finished this one 52% from the field, 43% from 3, 78% from the free throw line, and that's just one of those shooting lines where you just go copy paste. You'd love to have that every single night.
Yeah, no doubt about that. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to getting stops. Usually when you're getting stops, the ball seems to find its way in the hole. But I think that's just building with our confidence, and now we're becoming more experienced with our guys coming back from break. They know what to expect a little bit more now. And I think as the season rolls on, our guys are going to keep getting better and being more comfortable in the offense and seeing when shots are going to come their way. And, that's kind of what happened last night.
Another thing that Coach Herkelman and I talk about a lot is this team. You mentioned the defense, and so nearly impossible to take a star player out of a game, but your team just feels like so good. One of the strengths of this identity on defense is slowing down and making an opposing star uncomfortable, and you did that once again with Gavin Shannon and Ice Emery. They combined to shoot 9 of 23 from the field, did not hit a three-point shot all night long. So obviously players of that caliber, you're not going to hold them under 10, 12 points, but you can really make them earn those 12 points, and that's what your defense has really done all year long.
Yeah, and that's something we key on. Try to take away their best players, and Janai did really, really well last night. But it was a team defense. We switched a lot. Alvin Cole stepped up. He was guarding those guards a lot off their pick and roll actions. Overall, we're buying in on that end. We know that we have to get stops, hold people down to, 72 last night, and it'll give us a chance to win whether shots are going in or not. And that's where our focus has to be if we want to continue to win games.
You mentioned Alvin Cole, and he's really had his role expand here in the last couple weeks, and he's really I think, embraced that challenge so far. His 3 games since returning from break in the league, 11 rebounds, 12 rebounds, and then 15 rebounds against Dodge City in a game where you win the rebound battle by 9. So obviously he was really a huge difference maker on that facet of the game. Only ends up with 4 points, but played great defense, like you said, and really controlled the glass. And I think he's really making the most of this opportunity and really giving your group another solid forward down low.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. We've been extremely happy with his play the last 3 games. It's tough in the first half of the year. He's, learning, gaining some experience. Some games he's not playing. Some games he's getting some more reps. Now he knows he's going to get minutes, and so he knows what he's got to do out there, and he's doing what we're asking. And, credit to him. He goes out there and plays 30-something minutes, only takes 3 shots and goes after it and gets 15 rebounds and plays defense. So, big tip of the cap to him because he's really stepped up for us in the last couple games.
And another key forward on this team that's still kind of ramping his way back up, but gave your team 10 points off the bench, didn't miss a shot. Boubacar Keita, I think at times this year you really you've been looking for kind of a player to come off the bench and give your team some offense. Sometimes it's been Brian Griffith, but obviously with Brian in the starting lineup, you were looking for that guy to give you that little that boost of offense off the bench, and BK had 10 points in 12 minutes, so I think he did his job in that regard.
Yeah, that was one of the better games he's had in a while, 5 for 5. We knew they were a little undersized. They were going to play one-on-one in the post, and we let them know beforehand, take your time down there, get to your spot, and rise up and finish. And he was able to do that last night, and that's a big lift for us. If we can get 10 points in the paint from him, we're going to be doing some things right, and looking forward to improving on that still too.
Brian Griffith didn't come off the floor for you in that game against Dodge City. Ended up playing 40 minutes and had 17 points, his third consecutive game with at least 15. So he's really felt like, the theme, we talked about it a little bit last week. It feels like there's been two Brian Griffiths that we've seen this year. We saw Brian Griffith at the start of the year that was almost timid to shoot, which is almost a little weird to say because he's high school's all-time leading scorer and from a great basketball state in Kentucky. And now ever since the break, and really even the few games before the break, but it really feels like Brian Griffith now is back to believing in his game, believing in his shot, and it's been a completely different Brian Griffith in the last couple weeks, and it's a player that really is an important piece of this team.
Yeah, and that's what we expect from him. When we recruited him here, we knew he could score the ball. But it's a big change going from a high school where you got the ball in your hand and you're asked to do everything to coming into our system and having to move the ball and move without the ball. And, it's a learning curve for it, and he's starting to pick up on that. You could just tell in practice the way he moves now and what he's seeing. And he's seeing shots come to him, and that's going to make him more comfortable, knock him down. But he's a scorer, and we're going to need that here in the second half of the season.
And we've seen, as the years gone on, more and more of him and Javen on the floor at the same time. That kind of two-guard look, with maybe moving a Janai or Chris Carroll down to the three. And I think, as the years gone on, at the start of the season, I think, Coach Herkelman was saying this is point guard, and we're going to have them run the first team and the second team. And I think as the years gone on, you've almost adapted to that mentality and, realized that, they bring a little bit different, where Javen's more of your slasher and Brian's more of your kind of spot-up shooter. But what is the look that this coaching staff likes from both of them on the floor, and should we expect to see it more moving forward?
Well, yeah, they both kind of bring two separate looks, at the guard position. But the one thing that we really like about both of them is that they both handle the ball. They both, I think, against Garden, they both had like 6 assists, and I think last night they both had 4 assists or something like that too. So, they're both playmakers, each in their own way, and they're both unselfish. So having two guys be able to handle the ball out there at the same time, that really, really benefits us, and it makes our offense look a little different.
How much of a testament to your group's resiliency and just competitiveness and battle is it when you look at this box score and you see 40 minutes for Griffith, 36 minutes for Summers, 27 for Carroll, while, like you said, hadn't picked up a basketball in 3 games, 30 for Kofor, 31 for Cole. All 5 of your starters play nearly 30 minutes. You only had 3 players available off the bench. So you look at that, and as a coaching staff, I'm sure it has to, give you a little bit of an energy boost where it's like, we got guys that are just grinders out there.
Yeah, and they knew that going into the game. They knew that it was going to be big minutes for everybody, and sometimes that helps with the comfortability, knowing that you're going to be out there and be able to play through the mistakes. But like I said earlier, you got to give credit to these guys going out there on the road, 5-hour bus trip, and grinding out a win, and we needed it. So, yeah, credit to the guys, and they got back this morning, and you could tell that they were exhausted, and we said, hey, get some rest because it's not going to get any easier this weekend.
No, it is not. Like you said, the Blue Dragons coming to town this weekend, but we talked a little, of course, frustrated with how last week went against Barton and Garden City, but you get the big win over Dodge, and now all of a sudden it does feel like if you can go to Nellis Hall this weekend and, put up a fight and knock off a Hutchinson, which this team historically has had some success against Hutch. Of course, this Hutch team this year, very good, but always it feels like competitive, close games when these two go head-to-head. But if you can defend home court, take care of business on Saturday, the last 4 games, 2-2, doesn't seem quite as bad as where we were a week ago.
Yeah, and that's got to be the focus the rest of the year. We can't be looking too far ahead. We gotta focus on what's on the table now, and that's Hutch, and yeah, we're going to do what we need to do to try to get a win. Hopefully our guys are getting some rest. We'll be feeling a little bit better. We actually saw CJ and Charles when we got back today, and they're looking good. So, hopefully we have a full roster going into this weekend, and they're going to come out and play aggressive, and they're really good this year. And we're going to have our hands full, but we're going to do everything we can to come out with a win.
Before we take our final break of the show, Coach, a guy that really he was a solid role player, impact player for this team, really from the moment he started playing for this team. But really feels like he's taken that up a notch and become one of the best young players in this league. 28 points for Janai Summers, his third game of the season, with 25 plus. And I looked at it, I was curious, and in every game this year except for 2. So in 13 of your 15 contests this year, he's been in double figures, which is just really incredible consistency for a true freshman.
Yeah, he's a good player. We like that when we recruited him. He's got good size. He can shoot the 3. He's pretty good in the mid-range. Still need to work on a little bit of his transition finishing, but he's been good for us, and we expect him to be one of the best players on the floor night in and night out. And his confidence is building, and we see bright things for him, and hopefully that just translates to more wins for us.
Well, and I think that's really the key when you look at it, Coach, is you see early in the year, Janai would have games where he's shooting 2 of 7, 3 of 7, even you look at it, 3 of 4, but, those are his 3-point numbers, but, below 500, 7 of 13, he had a game, 5 of 10, 4 of 10, 5 of 10, kind of hovering around that 50% mark. But these last 2 games, 10 of 17, 9 of 17. So not just putting up 26 and 28 points, but he's been really efficient. He's hitting, like you said, hitting 3-point shots, had 3 against Dodge, and another 4 against 3 against Garden, 4 against Dodge, and it just feels like that's really been the evolution of his game. Is you can tell he's more comfortable because he's taking shots that he feels confident he can make, and more times than not he's hitting them.
Yeah, that's just the experience of understanding the offense too, and like I mentioned before, seeing when the shots are coming your way, being shot ready. And it takes a while for freshmen to get that, but he's picked it up pretty good. He's a high IQ guy. He knows how to play the game, and it's only going to get better for him. And we expect a lot. We ask a lot from him, and we're hoping that he can continue on this.
Red Raven Coaches Show here on the Mighty 690, sponsored by Gigi's Burger Bar and David W. Barnes Funeral Home. I'm Shea Neal. Jake Odom joining us here for the second half of the show, and we appreciate you hanging out with us. Of course, we'll have the K-State Coaches Show with Jerome Tang coming up in about 15 minutes, but let's take our final break of the show. We'll step away for 3 minutes. When we come back, we start talking Red Ravens taking on Hutchinson. Don't go anywhere. We're back in 3 on the Mighty 690 KGGF. Red Raven Coaches Show here on the Mighty 690 KGGF. I'm Shay Neal. We're continuing our conversation with Jake Odom and talking Red Raven men's basketball. And we turn our attention to this weekend's contest with the Hutchinson Blue Dragons. And, Coach, your team had some success against Hutch a year ago, but obviously this Hutch team has really found their footing this year. Last year, kind of a middle-of-the-pack team that was kind of struggling to find that identity. This year, they have that identity, and they're back in championship contention, as we expect Hutchinson to be.
Yeah, they're good. They've been rolling. Had a good win last night, and I think they gave up 44 points. So they know what they're doing. They've kind of figured it out this year, and they're going to be a tough one this weekend.
And something we talked about a little bit, as you said, this Hutch team really, it seems like, has slowed down their pace just a little bit. Obviously, still a team that loves to go and a team that loves to try and beat you with their speed and their athleticism, but maybe under a little bit more control than they were last year, where sometimes that defense kind of got caught not in position. And I think this year they've done a better job of adjusting to that. And really, both ends of the ball, they've just been rock solid. Yeah,
I think they found a great balance. And they bring a lot to the table. They have a lot of pressure, and they got a lot of length and a lot of speed. And they try to speed you up and take advantage of your mistakes and then turn that into offense on the other end. And they're one of the best teams in the conference, and we're expecting a lot from them this weekend. I'm curious
your thoughts on this, where, of course, the Hutchinson size for the last couple of years has not been one of the greatest, tallest teams in the league. They love to have those kind of 6'4" to 6'8" kind of build of player, but they have 3 players over 6'7". Their tallest player on the roster, 6'9". So when you look at a player like an Alvin Cole, like a BK, like some of these bigger guys you've got on your roster, do you view this as an advantage for a player like that, where they have the size advantage down low, or is it almost in some ways a disadvantage where they're going to have be defending a guy that's got a lot of quickness and a lot of speed?
I think it can go both ways a little bit. But they rebound the ball, and they still play tough in the paint, so it's not like it's an easy matchup for those guys if they might be a little bigger or not. You just got to look at your matchup, whether you're bigger, smaller, however it is, and attack them and try to win your matchup, and that's what those guys are going to have to do this weekend.
Is there a specific player on the Blue Dragons or a certain combination, a duo of players that the coaching staff's really kind of singling in on, trying to limit their production and put more pressure on other guys?
Well, just now that we're starting our stuff today and tomorrow with giving our guys instructions how to guard. It's everybody with them, though, just because they play hard D, and it's mainly about taking care of the ball, being foul-free. They get to the free throw line a lot and keeping them off the offensive glass. The things they're doing well this year, turning people over, getting to the free throw line, and scoring in the paint. And those are going to be our focuses, and they do it from 1 to 10 on their roster, so it's hard to focus in necessarily on one guy in their offense.
Yeah, and I think, you mentioned, obviously, that's really what I noticed from Hutch last year, especially the game on the road, is their defense almost a successful chaos where they bring players in your face almost as soon as you catch the ball. We, last year's point guard, of course, Cam Shell, a really good freshman point guard, and he had 4 or 5 turnovers in that game. So obviously, it's a team that I believe in the first 6-7 minutes of that game, I believe your group had 8-9, maybe even had 10 turnovers, and it did get better as the game went on. But have you started having conversations with your guys about the first 5-6 minutes of this game could be chaos, could be pandemonium with this Dragon defense?
Yeah, we started letting them know a little bit of that today. And understanding composure, because Cam was really good last year for us and handling pressure. But you get out there against Hutch, and it's a different world. It's almost like they've got 7 guys out there on the floor at times. So, that's one thing that we got to be good at, especially Javen and Brian. And that's one thing that's been nice, having those 2 guys on the floor, 2 ball handlers, 2 creators, and hopefully they can handle the pressure that comes their way.
And you mentioned a little bit earlier, you hinted at it, but C.J. Smith, Charles Caparasso, both still kind of coming back from a little bit of an illness, and do you anticipate both of them being good to go for Saturday?
Yes, they were here and watched film today. We're not guaranteeing or nothing, but we're hoping so. And if not, we got to go out there with the guys that are with us and the guys that we took out to Dodge.
And, Coach, you talk about we're wrapping up this 4-game stretch here, and, of course, there's no easy night in this conference. But you look at, what's up ahead, and you get through this gauntlet of the top 6 in the league, and you get to stay close to home with Independence coming to town. You have one more road trip to Colby, but you get Independence, you have Pratt. So it does. It's not, you're not playing Barton, Garden, Dodge back to back to back. So you look at this game, and obviously, easier said than done. But if you can find a way to get a win, which would be really the statement win of the season, if you can beat the Blue Dragons, it really sets your team up to really get some momentum and go on a run that we've really been waiting for this team to go on for 6 weeks now.
Yeah, but our focus is completely on this game this weekend. I couldn't even told you who we played the next week. We're all in on trying to figure out how to win this, and then we'll be able to go from there.
Well, and I think that's the way to approach it. I think that's knowing who you play next week is my job, and taking care of what you're doing on Saturday is what you need to take care of. Yeah. But I think you talk about this Hutch team as we put a bow on this show. We've talked about kind of playing against their defense. We've talked about what you see from them offensively. What your team coming off of back-to-back games with points in the 90s. Your offense is really starting to click a little bit here in the last week or so. So what do you see from your group that you're going to be able to continue doing that you've done in the last couple games? And what are some things that you might have to tweak to match up with Hutch?
We got to rebound and defend. I think that's where everything's going to start with us. Focus on that end of the floor. And then limit turnovers too. And if you limit turnovers, rebound, defend, you're going to win a lot of games in this league. And those are 3 things that Hutch does really well. So we're going to have to try to win those battles against them. And I think if we do that, then we'll put ourselves in a good spot to win the game.
Well, Coach, we'll put a bow on this show, and I'll ask you the same question I asked Coach Turner. And the fact that we're at the halfway point of the season, 15 games in. After this game coming up on Saturday, you'll have seen a lot of the top teams in the league. You've seen Cowley, you've seen Hutch, you've seen Butler, you've seen Barton. So at this point, at the halfway point, what is an aspect or two of this group that you think can compete with anyone that's championship caliber, and then what's something that in the second half of the season this team's gonna have to get better at in order to beat some of these top 3-4 teams in the league?
I think that we're a really tough team. I think we got some gritty guys, and like we mentioned before, the experience part's the thing that is now that we can't be freshmen anymore now that it's halfway over. We've played all these teams now, and now we have to take what we learned from the first part of the season and be successful with it for the second part of the season. And that's what we're going to focus on, and just doing what we can to win the games.
Red Ravens back in action at Nellis Hall on Saturday, and they take on the Hutch Blue Dragons. And of course, anybody listening to this program, we ask you to pack Nellis Hall and show the team some support, as Hutchinson always a tough game, and this one obviously a very important one for not just gaining some momentum, but also obviously we're at the point of the year where conference standings, you start to think about that. So big game coming up, and Coach Odom slid in for Coach Herkelman tonight, did a great job. We got through it. You did good. You can take a deep breath now.
I appreciate it.
All good. And, of course, appreciate Andrew here across the table from us. Appreciate Nick Bryan back in the studio making sure we can stay in the air. I'm by no means have the talent of a pilot. I just sit in the pilot's chair and just as long as autopilot's on, we're in good shape. So appreciate everybody for helping out. Appreciate you for listening. Appreciate GG's for having us. Appreciate David W. Barnes Funeral Home for sponsoring the show as well. Until Saturday, when the Red Ravens are in action against the Hutchinson Blue Dragons, I'm Shane Neal saying so long here on the Mighty 690 KGGF, the K-State Coaches Show with Jerome Tang, coming up next on the Mighty 690.